when I conceived of the Horror Nights Gauntlet, I really thought, like, I'm going to do this high concept, sportscast kind of stupid bullshit talking head thing, almost like the news in hell. And I'm going to have these hell gates in this bathroom that just fucking rip open from behind me after every non sequitur opening. And, so in reality, I moved into a smaller room in my house for this, and I can't move the sets anymore, so, welcome to the Horror Nights Gauntlet. Happy Halloween, and welcome to another special episode of the Horror Nights Gauntlet. We are at the date that we're posting this at opening week of Halloween Horror Nights. I'm not sure when in the week I'm posting this, but it should be in just a couple of days on Friday night. So I thought it was a good time to pull in another special episode. I know there's so many episodes of my show. I know. But so this week we are we're gonna just fall in line with every other Horror Nights show and do a ranking hype episode. But I'm gonna put a little twist on it, because I got to do 3 of these houses, and I didn't feel right ranking Bride and Tooth Fairy and Beetlejuice in terms of hype, because it's like, well, obviously I'm not as hyped to do them because I already did them. So I was thinking about it, and I was like, I'm gonna do an opening weekend review probably, and I'm definitely gonna do an end of season review. What if I try to think of it in terms of how I think I'm gonna feel about the event? And then I was like, well, I should incorporate the shows and scare zones as well. So without further ado, let's get the fuck to it. Coming in at number 17, that's right, I said 17, is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And I'll read the description, and then I'll justify why I feel like it's going to land at the bottom of the houses, scare zones, and shows. Step into the dilapidated Texas home of the depraved, sadistic Sawyer family, who welcome you with razor-sharp blades and roaring chainsaws. You've seen the 1974 horror classic. Now it's your turn to experience it for yourself. Enter the dilapidated Sawyer house and meet Leatherface and his demented family of merciless butchers. Will you make it out in one piece or in pieces? It's at the bottom really just because I don't care about it. I've seen Texas Chainsaw in 2007. I saw the Texas Chainsaw Massacre in 2016. I'm just not that excited about it. And I know then you're probably like, oh, well, why aren't you excited about Bride, Tooth Fairy, and what I didn't get to see those in a real environment, a real Horror Nights. I also just don't really like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre that much. I just really hate it.
I hate it. I feel like the only good part of it is the end scene when he's just doing that dance with the chainsaw.
I know it's not. I actually don't feel like it's that controversial an opinion to say you don't like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I respect a lot of it. I respect, what it did for the slasher genre, and I think it's an ugly movie, but I do think that the grittiness of it and the film grain and everything does contribute to its aesthetic. I genuinely do think the early scene, I don't know what any characters' names are, but where the boyfriend goes in the house and fucking Leatherface hits him with the hammer, and then the girlfriend goes and looks for him and finds the room full of bones and shit. I think that's genuinely really unsettling. I up until that point, I don't despise the movie. I find the beginning exhausting with the hitchhiker and everything, but like I don't like hate it at that point. It's like that like last half hour of the bitch just screaming for like half an hour. She's running in the woods and screaming. She's just tied up in the chair and she's screaming, and it just doesn't stop. And it's just I know it's like sacrilegious to say, I honestly like the remake. I like Texas Chainsaw 2 a lot. I don't really like the original movie. I even think with if they were doing Texas Chainsaw 2, this would be like way up higher. I love camp and I love bright colors, but I just don't really care, you know. Maybe I'll totally turn around on it and I'll end up loving it. We'll see after the event. Anyway, I liked the haunted house in 2016. I'm sure I'll like this. I think this is a really strong lineup, honestly. And for this to be at the bottom, it probably would have been at the bottom in a different lineup too, but I just don't care about Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But good for you if you like it. The entirety of Reflections of Fear podcast just unfollowed me.
Oh my god.
All 4 of them. They all said fuck Dakota. All right, so coming in at number 16, it is Halloween Nightmare Fuel. A new show is igniting Halloween Horror Nights, featuring fire, pyro, and aerial performers. It's The Little Mermaid. A fearsome and unforgettable performance will ignite guests' waking nightmares in the all-new show, Halloween Nightmare Fuel, where nocturnal creatures, aerialists, again, The Little Mermaid, of aerialists of the night and frightful fire performers will come alive to the crackling beat of rock, metal, and electronica music. It's not that I actually think I'll dislike this. Again, I've said I think this is a really strong lineup. I don't know what to expect. If it's anything like the dance troupe that shall not be named, it's going to be really hit or miss for me. I think, you know, the fuel and the pyro thing, it sounds like there's going to be a lot of, like, fire stunts. I imagine probably the whole stage will be on fire at some point. I am a little disappointed. I think it's really my disappointment that has this set so low is, you know, there was a strong, justified rumor that there was potentially going to be a Jack show in the Fear Factor Theater, and this does not say to me anything Jack. I don't know. It could be cool. It could suck. It could be cool. But as far as trying to figure like where I think it'll land and also merging that with my hype, I'm not that excited. And I also know I don't really care about live shows. They rarely rank higher than Scare Zone's or Houses. So yeah, this is kind of where I think it's going to land. Y'all know I'm gonna be brutally honest, and I will justify my thoughts, and all of you are gonna be like, what the fuck? And I'm not done throwing you for a loop. So, coming in at number 15 is 30 Years, 30 Fears. Let's read the description, and I'll really get into my thoughts, and you know I'm not gonna hold back. The monsters you've most dreaded from past Halloween Horror Nights have taken over the streets, their back, and your history. The most infamous characters from past Halloween Horror Nights scare zones will reunite to take over the Avenue of the Stars in 30 Years, 30 Fears. Guests will enter a gory reunion where the past has come back to haunt them with the creatures of blood and bone. Beastly monstrosities and chainsaw-wielding fiends lurking around every corner. It's not so much that I don't think I'll like this. Like I said, I mean, I think this is a really strong lineup. I don't care that much about anniversary shit, honestly. At least not like hodgepodge, just a bunch of shit thrown in a blender. I get a lot more excited about, you know, a unique theme. I want to be transported. So I will be happy to see these characters. I just don't know that I'm going to connect with it that strongly the way I would with like an original story and an original space. And really that's the bulk of it, but there's more. I kind of think it's aesthetically a mess. I think that I love that the Blood Ruins set pieces were recreated for this, and I love seeing the old neon Halloween Horror Nights sign up on the trusses, and it looks like we're gonna have characters on multi-levels and maybe someone flying. We haven't had trusses this high since like 2008, so maybe. I'm not gonna hold my breath for that, but it would be cool. So I think we're gonna have flames and stunts and, you know, tons of throwback characters. I think it's gonna be really fun, but I think the like black and white comic book art and the like brown ruins is sort of ugly. It just like aesthetically, they don't make sense together. I don't know, aesthetically, I think it would have made a lot more sense if these like, you guys are gonna think I'm such a dick, if these like ruins had been painted in like a black and white and red color scheme to match the billboards and the red everywhere. Like it just, I don't know, it doesn't make sense to me, like aesthetically. I don't know, I'm being a dick. Anyway, so I just don't get that excited about throwback stuff. I do and I don't. I obviously, like, there's a lot of throwbacks this year. I want to see them presented in an interesting way. And this is, you know, it's cool. I'm sure I'll take a lot of selfies here, and I'm sure I'll have fun, but I'm just not that excited for it. So, and I don't see myself getting that attached to it, like, emotionally. So this is where it is. Coming in at number 14, this one is also gonna be baffling and confusing and piss a bunch of people off, but I also feel like after saying what I just said about 30 Years, 30 Fears, you guys are probably gonna like, it's pretty much the same reasoning. But my ninth house and number 14 is HHN Icons Captured. I'm not that excited about it. I think I'll love it, to be clear. I do think I will love this, but in terms of like how hyped I am and like ultimately I have seen every single one of these icons in person before. Let's get into the let me read the house description. I'll take you on a journey of my thought process. But prepare to meet some of the most terrifying characters from 30 years of Halloween Horror Nights. Together in one house for the first time ever, Jack the Clown, the Storyteller, the Caretaker, and many more have joined forces, some newly risen to true icon status, to form a monstrous hell of fame. Discover who reigns supreme as the most evil of them all. It's different every time you visit. So listen, I've seen all of the icons before. Obviously, many of them have had terribly executed experiences in the park. Lady Luck didn't have a house, but she had a really scare zone. Chance had a house. It was horrible. The Usher had a great house. Caretaker's had a great house. Jack's been in many great houses. Storyteller's been in some pretty houses. So I'm excited to see these characters, obviously. It's really exciting to see these characters, but I also am sort of sick of the way they're always presented. Like, I don't give a about seeing the director kill someone in a bathtub again, or seeing the storyteller cut someone's tongue out again, or seeing the caretaker rip someone's heart out again. Like, I just want to see them used differently, and I don't know. I honestly don't know. Maybe maybe their scenes are different, but I don't feel like they will be, and I just kind of am sick of the same old with them. I want to see the characters evolve, and Jack gets to evolve all the time. I'm bored. I saw the Arrival show. I saw their commercials. I mean, okay, so like the Arrival is a perfect example because it was a show in 2006 where Jack and the director and the caretaker and the storyteller all had a little scene where, Jack would put someone in a blender and the caretaker would rip a heart out and the storyteller would cut a tongue off and, the director electrocutes a guy in a bathtub. And then all of those scenes, apart from Jack, I guess, were then, in 2015 for 25, were like turned into little mini stage shows and the Usher got a stage. And I'm just like, we're going to do that again. I don't want to see that again. I want to see something new. I know this is going to be like everyone's favorite thing and I'm going to be like the odd man out that's like, I don't really care. Maybe I'm just old. I'm trying so hard to not be like gatekeepy about it either, because I'm happy that other fans are excited about it and that like new fans are gonna get to see the characters for the first time. I want to see something different. Like I don't want to see the icons. I just want to see them used. I could be talking out of my ass and I could love this. Who knows? Okay, coming in at number 13. It's pretty low. I feel like a lot of people have this pretty low. I'm actually excited about it. This is kind of where it landed. Is another scare zone. It's Crypt TV. In this nightmare world that's overtaken San Francisco, creatures of all shapes and sizes exist, including the Looksee, the Sunny Family Cult, Harclaw, and Miss Anity. Now they've been brought to life in Halloween Horror Nights and are ready to bring the terror, the flesh, and the stories of these monstrosities to the San Francisco area of Universal. I had heard of Crypt TV before, and I had watched The Birch. And I think as a concept, it's really cool, you know, that they're little short films meant to just be consumed in a couple minutes. I am still I'm working my way through them. There was a while where we thought this was maybe going to be like Creepshow, and I will be honest, I consumed every single bit of Creepshow media. So having to then hit the brakes on that and consume a different thing is kind of annoying. But I'm working my way through it. We watched the Look-See, we rewatched The Birch. I thought Missanity was fun with the spider bitch. As far as the zone goes, I guess my concern initially, and it still kind of is my concern, is that it reminds me of Face Off in the Flesh in 2014. With Face Off, you know, you didn't know anything about the characters. They were just a makeup look that had been designed by some stranger, some like contestant on a reality show. This, at least, you know, they have a lot of content you can consume. And I think this is going to make a lot of new fans for Crypt TV, honestly. I think it's a really cool thing. I don't know if it really fits into Halloween Horror Nights 30, in my opinion. You know, the other scare zones all feel, you know, like they're sort of reminiscent of things that have come. They all are, honestly. But I don't know. It's cool. I think I'll enjoy it. I don't think I'm gonna fall in love. I rarely fall in love with IP scare zones. I'll be real. Obviously, I loved Trick or Treat and Chucky and Killer Clowns. I don't know. I think aesthetically there's a lot going on here. I like all these stages. I think there's a lot to look at. And I'm excited. I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm excited, but it's just kind of landing low, and I don't see it landing super high when we do the event. That's kind of why it's here. Attraction number 12. This I'm sure will end up moving and be something I really like, but at the moment, number 12 is Marathon of Mayhem. Carnage Factory. There's no manufacturing the screams as a terrifying new show comes to life in Universal Studios Lagoon. It's a fear factory. I am inclined to believe that this is somehow related to Jack. I have no knowledge on this. I'm going to be straight up. But the fact that, like, for, you know, in 1725, we had Carnage something, be it Carnival of Carnage, The Carnage Returns. This is now called Carnage Factory, and we know this is a Jack year. I just kind of assume this is a Jack show, and if that's the case, and this is the Jack show, that's pretty disappointing to me. That said, Marathon of Mayhem was, like, very surprising to me. I love, you know, synthwave and bright neon colors and that 80s vibe, and I just thought, like, as a lagoon show and as a theme park, like, nighttime spectacular, this was just, like, spectacular. This was so good. It had, that first one set the bar really high, and I'm not sure this will be able to clear that for me. And I fully understand why they were like, oh, we're just gonna keep Marathon of Mayhem, and that's a brand now. Like, I fully get that. I just, now that we're switching to this, like, dingy, like, factory, steampunky kind of aesthetic, I'm like, am I gonna care? And it's like Hill House and Texas Chainsaw. They didn't even mention Beetlejuice in the description, and I'm just like, am I gonna like this? But for number 11 is Beetlejuice. Got trouble with living? You know what to say. Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. It's showtime. Say it once, say it twice, say it 3 times. It's time to turn up the juice and see what shakes loose as the original film comes to life more twisted and terrifying than ever. Beetlejuice will haunt, taunt, and send you screaming out of the haunted house. He'll torment you as you wander checkerboard hallways and abandon you to your fate in the Lost Souls room. He'll menace you through the model graveyard and Join in the fun of Dante's Inferno. Be a part of the infamous dinner party scene and witness Beetlejuice's chaotic wedding. It's showtime. Obviously, I did this house, and if you want to hear my thoughts, my like full thoughts on it, you can watch the other video that we did talking about that. You know, I liked it, but I didn't love it. Well, I did love it, but I didn't love the second half of it. I'm hoping in the context of like real Halloween Horror Nights that my opinion will change. I'm just like not super confident because there's probably going to still be COVID procedures in place. So I don't know what to expect in terms of like cast, in terms of like interactions and things like that. So I'm hesitant, but I want to be wrong. I want this to end up higher, but at the moment it is kind of my like third from the bottom with my houses. and like number 11 overall in terms of like where I think things will land. So I love Beetlejuice. I love the beginning of this house. I think the first half is fucking incredible. I just think it kind of falls apart once you kind of go back to the Maitland's house. I also only saw it like 3 times.
Only 3 times. Jackass.
There were people who saw it like fucking, I'm not kidding, like 16 times. Like,
Okay.
listen, hate the game. Okay, number 10. Working our way down. We're doing a scare zone again. Really, at this point, I'm actually excited about pretty much everything going forward. I just, we had a little hurdle of things that I was like questionable. This is kind of in the very excited, very questionable category, and so is kind of the next scare zone as well. But I don't know where on the list it landed anymore because I'm kind of drunk. Oh God. Oh, the stands are gonna kill me. This is Lights, Camera, Action, Eddie's Revenge. Get ready for the feel-bad movie of the year. Eddie Schmidt, Jack the Clown's diabolical brother, is returning to Halloween Horror Nights to film a gory Hollywood sequel in Lights, Camera, Action, Eddie's Revenge. Except this time, the monsters are real. Vampires, evil clowns, creatures from the watery depths, and other horrific beings from the events past. We'll roar on this.
One more time.
No, I'm keeping it. We'll roar on the scene where guests will make their short and painful cameo. I will say point blank right now, I put it here and I'm expecting it to be a mid-tier scare zone, but I also feel like it could be my favorite. I just, this is a sequel to the 2009 Scare Zone Lights, Camera, Action, which I loved. I did. I love 2009. The concept of the original zone was that it was a movie set and they were shooting a horror movie and it was like a chainsaw killer theme, but then the actors playing the chainsaw killers just started killing everyone for real, and they were murdering the cast and murdering the crew and coming after everybody. And it was a chainsaw zone, and it was also in Hollywood. And, it was a combination of, like, it was a lot of, like, big lighting equipment and, like, cones and stuff. And, like, it aesthetically was not very pretty. It was supposed to look like you were behind the scenes or whatever. But I really enjoyed it. It was really fun. Why I'm not excited is... I am excited. I don't know. I think the sets look a little... I don't know, like the vamp one, it just kind of looks like a scrapbook, which I guess I get as the point. I don't know. I don't love it aesthetically. It doesn't look like a movie set to me. It just kind of looks like piecemeal thrown together. I'm a dick. And Hollywood, I feel like they typically do save like the fun zone or the funny zone or the party zone. They like to put it there. So I feel like that's what we're getting. Knowing that it's chainsaws, I mean, I love people watching a chainsaw zone anyway, just because it's always really funny. I'm a little hesitant. I think the sets at the moment look questionable, but I could change my mind. Don't hate me. I'm sorry. Take every thing I just said with a grain of salt, and I fully reserve the right to eat crow and change my mind. Number 9, we're going back to houses. This is... I think this will... I don't know what I am at with my houses, actually, but number 9 on the total event is Welcome to Scary, Horror in the Heartland. In Cary, bad things just happen. No one escapes from this small town beset by an endless parade of bloodthirsty creatures and maniacs. The town placed a sign at the entrance to Cary, Ohio, saying, "It's a nice place to live." Unfortunately, nobody lives here very long. No one escapes from Cary, where bad things just happen, and new terrors rain down year after year. If it claws, bites, feasts on blood, or just likes to rip people to shreds, it somehow finds its way to Cary. Experience an endless parade of unimaginable terrors, from horrifying creatures to bloodthirsty maniacs. You can scream all you want in Cary, but everybody's too busy doing their own screaming to pay much notice. I think that last line is so stupid. You'll notice it did make it significantly higher than 30 Years and Icons, because while we are just revisiting shit that we've seen before, I do think the context of this is more exciting to me. I'm not wild about like just seeing the same old all over again. Just you know, shorter, smaller. And that is probably what this is just an anniversary house with scenes from past houses. I mean, we know we're getting Hive, we know we're getting Leave It to Cleaver. But what excites me about this house in particular is that we're seeing it as if we're entering the town of Carrie, and presumably it's going to, I'm imagining, I don't know, I do not know, but I'm imagining it's going to flow like we're leaving the building and we're walking down the street in Cary, Ohio. Now we're going into Meets house, and then we're gonna walk down, now we're going into the Wyandotte house, or the dead end house, whatever it was called. Now we're in the sewers. You know, I'm imagining there to be a logistical flow to it, as if I'm in one continuous haunted house. And maybe none of this is true, and maybe I'll still like it, or maybe I'll hate it. Anyway, I'm really excited to go back to these places, and I realize that's the polar opposite of what I said about icons. So, coming in at number 8 is a house that I'm feeling like I could really love, but I feel like will end up middle of the pack for me, but I'm gonna defend to the end of time because I feel like it's gonna be universally slept on constantly, and that is Puppet Theater Captive Audience. Okay, a puppeteer and a ballet troupe trapped in a deserted theater for years are about to turn you into a human puppet. That's your cue to scream. Open scene. They really got in on this one. They really wanted to paint a picture with words. A creepy abandoned old theater from the early 1900s San Francisco. A puppeteer and a ballet troupe have been trapped there ever since. And they'd kill for an audience. They don't mention the earthquake? There was an earthquake. I'm just telling you. Whether you're a puppet or a patron, that's your cue to scream. All of the blood will drain from your face as you see the green room run red with blood. Your horror grows as you come upon grotesque living marionettes made from severed limbs. If you manage to escape their gory puppetry, then you'll become part of the skeletal audience, rotting in place. I love this in concept. Okay, so we saw a bit of this house already. They announced this. This was the first house that actually got announced, technically. So it's kind of giving me Dead Silence, The Curse of Mary Shaw in 2007, and it's kind of giving me Dollhouse of the Damned in 2014, and I feel like both of those are vibes that I really with. So with Dollhouse of the Damned, that house was up, and I just feel like if this house can deliver on creepy, it's gonna be successful.
Puppets are scary.
No, they're not. I don't know. I'm a dick. I think like puppets and dolls and little kids and like clowns and that everyone is like, oh, and I think it's dumb. I don't think it's scary. It's placed in the middle just because I'm more excited about the shit, and I feel like I'll end up liking the other shit on the list more. I was president of my thespian troupe in high school, so I'm invested. But maybe I'll hate it. Coming in at number 7. This I really thought would be my number 1 scare zone. But then I thought about it some more, and I don't know that it will be. So this is Gorewood Forest. 16 years. It's supposed to be 15, but it has been 16, and I appreciate that they're just, fuck it. 16 years. So 16 years after the gory sacrifices of Terra Cruentis, the heartless Terra Queen is back. Evil is in her nature. The heartless Terra Queen is back, and her wicked plans to remake the world in her horrifying image will take root in Central Park, transforming it into the grisly Gorewood Forest. Guests will find nowhere to hide from her menacing minions as they harvest fresh blood to feed her ever-growing power. What I like about this with the other zones, obviously, is that it's a throwback. And I'm obviously very excited to see the Queen and to see Eelmouth and to see the sacrifices, to see the knuckle grunts. I love the knuckle grunts. They're my sons coming out of their little mine shafts. That's exciting. Hopefully we get like a body collector or two. Like, that'd be really cool. I'm sure we'll see the bone choppers and the motorcycles. But this, I went to Tales of Terror in 2005. I loved that year. I followed it religiously in the months leading up to it. And the lore of the Terra Queen and of Terra Cruentis is like one of my absolute favorite things in Halloween Horror Nights. So you would think I'd be really excited, and I am. But I also kind of wish this was a house. And I kind of think the world building was so rich and detailed and lush in 2005 for this experience to then just be kind of like, you had 5 lands and 7 houses that were all tied together with this very strong story about the Terror Queen and, you know, the sacrifices they would do and creating the knife and the dagger and everything, and like how everything was tied together with the body collectors, and all of the lands were part of this like big world. And to condense that into Central Park, I'm very excited to see it, but it, you know, it's like, how could it live up to what it once was? And so I'm just like, I don't know, like a house though, like you could take me on an adventure, where this is just like, I don't know if I'm gonna hang out here. I you know, like Central Park is never an area I hang out. All of those things that like made Terra Cruentus like, you know, distilled into a single zone, that's exciting. I'm just a greedy bottom and I want more. Number 6 is a scare zone, and for me it is Seek and Destroy, which seems weird, but the more I think about it, the more I'm like really interested. And this is, I feel like this is hype, not reality, leading this thought process. A ruthless alien cyber regime led by the Controller has taken over New York, turning humans into fuel. Succumb or be destroyed. Guests will find themselves in a New York dystopia where a ruthless alien cyber regime led by the Controller has taken over, relentlessly scanning the city streets for humans and turning them into fuel. With the regime's loyal followers hiding in the darkness, endlessly hunting for new victims, guests must either join them or be destroyed. The art is cool as fuck with the big, like, digital head floating over the city and the spotlights. I think it's going to be really cool. And it could end up sucking, like, you know, like anything. And it's giving me Saws and Steam. It's giving me that Apocalypse Survivor Die, or Survivor Die, whatever it was called, in 2016. It's giving me Acid Assault in 2011. Like, it's giving me a lot of vibes. And it's the one zone this year that, yes, it's I feel like it's recalling a lot of past, you know, anniversary-esque things with these other zones we were mentioning, but it is still like a very unique original concept, and for that reason, I'm just really excited about it. I think it's really interesting. I am not of the attitude that New York zones suck. I think that's like recently they've kind of sucked, but you know, some of my favorite zones have been in New York. I think they've done really incredible things with it. Acid Assault is one of the most incredible zones they've ever done. It was so fucking cool. Obviously, it was cool enough that they reused the projection mapping for Survivor Die a few years later. And I see that happening again this year, and I wouldn't be mad about it. I think it was really fucking cool. And I love cyberpunk, and I love dystopian science fiction. I love good dystopian science fiction, and I love aliens and this like industrial militaristic kind of vibe. I'm feeling it. That is my number 1 scare zone, folks. So that means the top 5 of this list are all houses. We'll see where things land, of course, you know, as the event proceeds. But going forward, we're just into the top 5 houses. So let's keep going. That's one of those things where people are like, I saw someone tweeting the other day, like, why do you guys care about hype lists? Like, I don't want to see your hype list. I don't care. It's like, cool, then don't look at them. I like seeing what people think. I don't know. And I like comparing them at the end of the season. And I like seeing like your final list. I'm very interested in what people think about things, because I feel like you can learn a lot about a person based on their taste in Horror Nights houses. So we are at number 5. Oh, this is gonna be controversial.
Oh god. Oh my god. If it's Wicked Growth, I'm walking out of this room.
It's number 5 is Universal Monsters: The Bride of Frankenstein Lives. We belong dead. The last words of Frankenstein's monster when his bride rejected him. Now she'll stop at nothing to bring him back. This time, the bride of Frankenstein is stepping out of the shadows and taking her fate into her own bloody hands. The mate will have her monster, and the monster his mate. And obviously now that we're into the list, this is where I'm thinking my list is going to land. I realize that's controversial, but as you know, if you watched the last special episode where we reviewed Diet HHN 8 months later, Revenge of the Tooth Fairy was my favorite Diet HHN house, but I also fucking loved Bride of Frankenstein Lives. I have a feeling like I just feel really good about these top 5 houses. Like, really, really good about them. Even, like, to the point that, like, Puppet Theater and below, I'm like, you know, they all might be really great. But I feel like these, like, top 5, I'm like, I don't think there's a miss in this group. I think all of these, for me, are going to be, like, 10 out of 10 kind of great experiences. I think. I don't know. But, you know, obviously I did Bride of Frankenstein Lives. Pretty much everybody did this house. That's not true, but a lot of people did this house. I did this house. I loved this house. I am very excited to return to it. I was back and forth, like, all season, straight up. Like, opening, like, day or a weekend of Diet HHN, like, this was my favorite house. And it's really that Tooth Fairy grew on me. So, like, I feel like I should specify that. I think this is like a god tier Halloween Horror Nights house. Something about Tooth Fairy just spoke to me personally. And I realize that because I know everyone calls James Westthorne a little bitch, and to me, he's baby. But I don't know. I really loved this, and I think it's gonna be great. But I'm a little bit more excited about these other houses, and it's hard to make a hype list in a situation where you've experienced 3 of the houses. So, but I just think this is a really great house, and maybe I'll finish the season and this will be my favorite. Bride of Frankenstein Lives, great house. Maybe it'll be my number 2. Maybe it'll be my number 1. I don't know. So number 4 for me is Revenge of the Tooth Fairy. You're about to discover the sinister reality behind the seemingly innocent childhood tradition. All children must give up their baby teeth to the goblin-esque tooth fairies or pay a gruesome price. It's an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Yes, despite it being my favorite at HHN Light, at Diet HHN, I'm not an idiot. I don't think it's going to be my favorite of the overall event, realistically. But I feel like it has such a special place in my heart. And I loved James Westthorne so much. I think he's adorable. I love the Tooth Fairies so much that I just feel like even if it's objectively worse than it was last year, I will still just be happy to be walking through it. And it's really the same with Bride and with Beetlejuice. I also feel like I have so much positivity for it that they would have to really hit the bed on this like next version for me to not like come out of the event still loving it and like holding it up like in my arms. The early half of the house didn't have like crazy energy, but the latter half of the house was always like bitches like at you, like losing their mind. And like if that energy is still there, and if there's, you know, the plussing that we're hoping for and the, you know, additional stuff that we're hoping for, I feel like I could end up liking it more. So I'm hopeful. And you guys, once again, if you want to hear my like full detailed thoughts, my actual review of this house, I did post it on that last episode. It wasn't the last episode, it was, you know, it was the last special episode. And I really love this house. I feel like this with Puppet Theater is going to get sidelined by most people all season. I feel like a lot of people are going to hate this house. I think it's just lame because it's kind of goofy and corny, but I love it. Like, I feel like just my like preparedness to like defend it to the death is going to like keep it in a spot it probably shouldn't be in, but we'll see. Okay, so number 3 is The Haunting of Hill House. Welcome to Hill House, a structure more alive than its ghostly inhabitants. Inside these walls echo the haunted footsteps of those trapped here for all time. It stands like a brooding creature, waiting for its victims. Enter the decaying remains of an aging mansion that lives, even if all who dwell there are long dead. Step right into Netflix's supernatural masterpiece, The Haunting of Hill House. It is rare for an IP to breach my top 5, honestly, as far as hypes go, but I'm excited about this house. And they revealed some pictures of this house when it was announced, and it is gorgeous. The facade is amazing. And, you know, there was a big blog post and they were talking about how the hidden ghosts were a big part of the show. And I remember like speculating, you know, when we were hearing about this house, that like the hidden ghosts are probably going to be the bulk of the scares. But they're talking about the hidden ghosts being the scares as well as like there being hidden ghosts. This feels like it's very like they've said the story doesn't matter so much. This is the house's story. So like it's almost like you don't even have to see the show. You're just getting a really great haunted house, literally. And I think this is going to be one of those like legendary IPs up there with like American Werewolf. Like I really think this is going to be a big deal. I don't know. It to me, like much like with Bride, this, even though this is obviously an adaptation IP where it's like, you know, direct recreation of scenes, it feels, at least from the way they've been describing it, like an original house. Been reading the book, gonna rewatch the show. For me, next week, this is getting posted the week of Horror Nights, so when I was like thinking about it, I was like, do I care that much about Hill House? And like as I was doing it, I was like, yeah, I really do. I really think this is gonna be f***ing great. So we'll just go right into number 2, folks. It is The Wicked Growth, The Realm of the Pumpkin. There's no breaking free from the vines of the Pumpkin Lord, here to entrap you in his ever-growing evil. An evil rot has taken root in the land. It's time once again for the rise of the Pumpkin Lord who grows Halloween like a malignant vine. His minions are scouring the countryside, collecting unwilling sacrifices in order to summon the Pumpkin Lord? Oh. I thought he was commanding them to summon the pumpkin. I was very confused, but no, I'm drunk. On God, last year, when Billie Eilish was going to be part of the event, this was my number 1. But now that we know what has replaced Billie Eilish, obviously, if you've done the math, you know what number 1 is. So what I love about this, we got that story last year because they were obviously hyping an event that didn't happen, but it was about Twisted Tradition. And this is very clearly tied to the Twisted Tradition lore because we got that short story about the Pumpkin Lord and how Twisted Tradition was part of that story in the township of Cary. And we know that this house is also set in Cary. It just made me question why it's not just called like Twisted Tradition, The Wicked Growth, because I feel like people really get their rocks off with sequels.
That like dead body.
Oh, the dead body in the pumpkin.
Oh
yeah, God. That was disgusting.
She freaks me out so much.
It's a mannequin. And it was a mannequin, and it was disgusting. Obviously, we saw the Pumpkin Lord on the comic book Scare Zone t-shirt that they released last year. I'm getting Twisted Tradition, which is one of my absolute favorite Central Park like scarecrow pumpkin kind of scare zones. I'm getting literally every Central Park pumpkin scarecrow zone. I'm getting Scarecrow the Reaping. I'm getting the Hollow from 2008. Like this house, it almost feels like yet another anniversary house, but unlike the others, and the reason it's ranked so high is that this doesn't, it's, you know, I don't feel like we're getting any derivative repeat scenes. They're just like, yeah, it's fucking Halloween. And what is more Halloween than pumpkins? I'm hoping, I don't know, but I'm hoping that it smells like pumpkins. And earth, something about earth smell at Halloween Horror Nights is like a really good smell to me. And then also just like, because you remember the pumpkin guts scene in Slaughter Cinema in like a shed at a pumpkin patch, and he was like, Daddy! It was like a gross pumpkin, and it smelled like pumpkin spice in there. It smelled like pumpkin pie. And if this house doesn't smell like pumpkins, I'm not gonna like riot or anything, but I'll be sad. We all in a chain when they don't sell or when they don't make it smell like pumpkins. As a group, we're all gonna get those disgusting pumpkin slushies that they sell, the seasonal Horror Nights drink. Okay, maybe not. Okay, we're gonna all go to Diagon and get pumpkin juice, and we're gonna just throw it at actors. And no, we're just gonna Glee slushy them. I think this is gonna give us claustrophobia. I think this is going to give us beauty. I think this is going to give us legit scares. I could be wrong about all of that. It has been the top of my hype list since last year, and it just got edged out. I really think this is going to be a big deal house. I think it's going to be cool as fuck. Okay. And number 1, which you all knew, is Case Files Unearthed, Legendary Truth. Follow the trail of a private eye as an investigation into the supernatural leads you into a dark world of ghouls and terrifying creatures. And this is the Boris Schuster house, and Shelby Denham did manifest this, and I support them. This is the Shrek house. This is what replaced Billie Eilish. This is, obviously, it is a throwback to Legendary Truth, which was part of a viral marketing augmented reality game campaign thing that they did in 2008 initially as part of the Bloody Mary promo. Boris Schuster was the detective who was investigating the Bloody Mary case. This story presumably is not about that, and is presumably about the other supernatural cases that led to the founding of Legendary Truth, which is a paranormal investigation society, kind of secret society kind of deal that is like deeply ingrained at this point into the lore of Halloween Horror Nights. If it's Boris Schuster, it's set in the 40s or 50s. It's going to be classic film noir. I love this poster. There's a lot of monsters visible and creepy tentacle monsters and things. I think we could see each legion represented. I think, like, if you're going to deep dive into Legendary Truth, like, stop thinking about Bloody Mary. I don't think this is a Bloody Mary house. If Bloody Mary is at this event, she's going to be in Icons. She's not going to be in here. This is a Boris story, and I think Boris is the star. But I think, Legendary Truth is also the star of the show. And Legions of Horror has become so tied to that and those different monster types. I think that's what this is about, and that's where you should really focus your attention. I think this is the deep lore house with Scary, but unlike Scary and unlike Icons, this is a completely original story, a completely new experience that is gonna give you some throwbacks in subtle ways and just give you a really cool experience. And I'm here for one of my favorite things with Horror Nights is a good monster experience, a good monster house. I really lose it over obviously I love the Tooth Fairies, but the Nightingales, the Yetis, even the Mouth Brooders, or all of the unique characters and creatures they create for the event. And I think getting a whole house of different experiences like that's really exciting to me. I just think this is really unique and really exciting, and I'm really fucking stoked. I think this is really fucking cool. I think this is for an anniversary year. This is the sleeper hit. This is the one all of you are discrediting and miscounting, and you're I've heard several people, say oh, well, it was a last minute edition. It wasn't a last minute edition. You just didn't know about it. It had a full development cycle. This is a real house. This is something worth being excited about. And don't discount it, because I think a lot of fans who have just been kind of ambivalent are gonna eat their words and lose their minds about this house. I think this is gonna be the house that at the beginning of the event everyone is really surprised by, and it has really short waits, and by the end of the event the word of mouth has led to it having crazy waits for the rest of the season, because everyone is you have to see Legendary Truth. I could be wrong. I could hate this, it could be cheesy and stupid. It is in the Shrek building. I feel really good about it, and I've put all my eggs in this basket. I'm ready to defend it. I'm really excited about this house. So thank you guys once again for tuning in to another episode of the Horror Nights Gauntlet. I had a good time. I'm excited. We've got Horror Nights coming in just a couple days. As far as this week, I feel like we should just go through them again really quick. So at number 17, we had the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. At 16, Halloween Nightmare Fuel. 15, 30 Years, 30 Fears. 14, HHN Icons Captured. 13, Crypt TV. 12, Marathon of Mayhem, The Carnage Factory, or just Carnage Factory, whatever. 11, Beetlejuice. 10, Lights, Camera, Action, Eddie's Revenge. 9, Welcome to Scary, Horror in the Heartland. 8, Puppet Theater Captive Audience. 7, Gorewood Forest. 6, Seek and Destroy. 5, Universal Monsters, The Bride of Frankenstein Lives. 4, Revenge of the Tooth Fairy. 3, The Haunting of Hill House. 2, I almost had it too. Wicked Growth, The Realm of the Pumpkin. And number 1 is Case Files Unearthed, Legendary Truth. We will be back very soon with an opening weekend proto review. I don't consider opening weekend to be a thorough review of the event, but I will revisit where I'm at the start of the event, and then I'm thinking at the end of the season, of course, I'll do a real count, and we'll see how everything stacks up. I think that'll be kind of interesting. As far as the season to come, we are getting into real Horror Nights. I imagine there will be 1 or 2, I don't want to make promises, regular episodes of the Horror Nights Gauntlet. There is still a special episode planned with TN. We were not able to make it happen before Horror Nights, unfortunately, so hopefully it will happen during the season, but if not, it will be right at the end. So we definitely have plans for the show to keep going after the season ends, of course. As far as during the season content, definitely we want to go to some other events, so we won't just be talking about Halloween Horror Nights. Both of the Hollow Screams we're planning on going to, visiting, reviewing, so you'll get some other content there. Probably a lot of other local haunts. I don't know if they'll get an individual episode each time or if we'll do compilations yet. I don't know. We'll kind of just see how the season shapes up and shakes down. Let me know if you guys are interested in food or drink reviews or stuff like that. I'm not planning on putting that in big review episodes. Something like that would have to be on its own. I don't really want to do a 2-hour episode ever again. Either way, expect plenty of content. If you want to keep up with me, Cathode Coaster, of course, you can comment, subscribe, ring the notification bell. Keep up with that. You're helping the channel, trying to get these out a little bit more regularly. And then if you want to just keep up with me, Cathode Coaster or Horror Nights Gauntlet on Instagram. Cathode Coaster, of course, on Twitter is probably where I'm the most active. I love talking about Halloween Horror Nights. You can literally just blow up my feed and I will be right there replying immediately. So it was really fun talking to you guys this week, and we look forward to seeing you guys again next time on the Horror Nights Gauntlet, only on Cathode Coaster.